So it begins, and as you'll hear throughout the thing, it's kind of a raw show. There are parts here that we'll be talking. You won't be hearing any other announcers and stuff, which is kind of cool. But Sean, I don't think you've ever run a national event, or have you run a national event at Columbus?
No, I haven't actually. It's on my schedule this year. They have a spring fling event over there. Yep. But I've been there one time, and that was just kind of passing through. I actually picked up a car, but I've never been able to race that track. I've heard some pretty good things. It looked like a great facility. It'd be awesome to be able to go back to that place at some point, maybe.
They've done a ton of work there. They've really done, over the last few years, they've invested a ton as we get a look now at what the place looked like in the 70s. The one knock on the place over the years was that it was really short. And here's Ken Squire.
Delighted to have for action for you today the funny cars, the pro stockers, and the ground pounders, the top fuelers of the National.
Well, I can't hear what he's saying, but I think Ron
used to say that an expert is nothing a local boy away from home, and I can tell you that's how I feel here. However,
it predates our life by 2 years. For Ron, it may only predate the beginning of his career by about 6 months. He's been around a while. But hey, Rob, can you crank up the audio of the actual broadcast? We cannot hear what Mr. Squire is saying.
Have with us today, Mickey Thompson. I'm standing beside a double A.
So here's Mickey Thompson. He's doing a report on a top fueler and kind of explaining it. And Mickey Thompson, the late Mickey Thompson, of course, one of the total great legends of drag racing, land speed racing, you name it. And, you know, Sean, you look back at this top fuel car from 78. Your Super Comp car is way more advanced than this thing.
Maximum tracks. The engine.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, man,
and has
back in this day,
approximately 1,500
NHRA have a field on this thing going through tech, but yeah, a lot's changed, man. I mean, you look at the cockpit right there, and I mean, it's pretty basic as far as all the stuff that I just saw inside the cockpit. Now we have all kinds of gadgets and this and that and safety devices, and a lot of things changed. Lots changed the last 50 years.
It really has, and you know, I think I love the cars. The top fuel cars of this era to me are so cool because they're low slung. And what this is a look back to the '77 race, the final round here. Shirley Muldowney was a dominating racer at National Trail. You can see her getting the job done here in 1978 in 77 in the pink car, and of course they would go on to win the World Championship in 1977.
I think we know where the car is. Right.
Yeah, that's crazy in the shutdown area, not having any guardrails.
We had,
I guess, being able to go off in the grass and maybe go do some burnouts out there or something. But that's
on your back, and it's hard.
That's pretty crazy.
We just had to take one thing at a time. And we think we have the car. It's certainly mile per hour and down at the other end. It run 243.
Hey, Rob, we're still not getting any audio out of the actual broadcast here, at least that we can hear.
Things, and we think we worked it out.
So there's the interview with Shirley, kind of setting up this first round here. You know, these cars, again, as I mentioned, they were super low slung. I think they're awesome looking. And, you know, Kelly Brown is one of those names, California guy, Sean. And, you know, we talk about the top fuel guys in the late 70s, him and like Rob Bruins. These guys were world champions, but their names don't really pop up in many of these conversations anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of racers back in the day. And it's kind of funny. It's you hear them every once in a while, but then the name gets brought up again, and it's just like, oh wow, yeah, I forgot about that. You know, respectfully, obviously, but you know I wish I did notice one thing, that they were doing dry hops before. We bring dry hops back.
I agree with you 100% on the dry hops. Like, the dry hop element of this show is one of the coolest things. It was watch the replay of this thing again too. As they go down a racetrack, there's like, we talk about no prep drag racing today. That is about as no prep as it gets. You can see the two cars kind of skating around.
How about a big hand for all the guys who have?
Yeah, they are with the quarter wheelbase. Then I don't know, what was the wheelbase back?
Those were, I want to say those are about 225, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 225 to a 300-inch wheelbase. But I know, like our Super Comp cars, I mean, we go, you know, 190 miles an hour.
You've got to be broken-hearted.
Well, not really. Kelly ran good. So did we. The tires a little, but I was picking him up on the top end. I knew it was mile per hour.
Listen to this interview.
The national champion 2 years in a row here. How does it feel now to be defeated?
Well, everybody has to lose, you know, once in a while. We all like to win, Mickey. That's the name of the game. But when you lose, it makes you work harder, doesn't it? You know.
I love that. You know. You've been there.
Hey, they still ask me questions. How's it feel to lose?
And these are kind of funny because these are clearly used in the show as their driver kind of intros. You see Tharp there, Garlits. Look at the rat man.
Still looks the same, all Connie Coletta.
So this is a great run here. Jeb Allen, of course, this is about the time Jeb Allen was kind of at the height of his powers in Top Fuel. Look at the color of the NHRA guy's shirts. I don't know who picked that, but it's like day glow pink, and there's Richard Tharp.
Yeah, look at the Toby too.
I want the dually bad. That dually is spectacular.
Man, those dualies are awesome. He took a long way around on that one.
Yeah, and you look at the ETs here, like 609, 239. Remember some of the Top Fuel ETs, especially when we get into the funny car coverage, because, this is spectacular. This was not a good day for Jerry Ruth. Garlits is sitting there, he's waiting. Watch the burnout and pay attention to underneath the engine for Jerry Ruth. Watch this. Blows the whole bottom out of the thing.
That's going to be a lengthy cleanup right there. You can see it puddling up. And heck, you heard the boss about the majority of it.
Nasty. Absolutely nasty. I think it's cool, too. You get this shot. That's like a quick change style rear end in that car. You wouldn't even think it would be capable of holding that amount of power, but back in the day, they could make quick gear ratio changes in the pits. Of course, now the gear ratio is mandated in Top Fuel, and Garlits gets a bye. Looking all awesome in his. This was, to me, one of Garlits' uglier cars. I like the cars that were all black. This blue and white scheme wasn't the best looking thing in the world, but certainly an awesome running car. And as you'll see right here, he was as typically outperforming everybody.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed the canopy style closed cockpit swamp rat car. That was that's kind of what I remember growing up with Garlits and all that. But yeah, it's so funny looking at these cars and looking like, back then not having arm restraints and how open the cockpit is. I mean, now it's like everything's closed off because obviously for driver safety. But man, these guys were crazy back in the day.
And if the slow-mo, yeah, and look at the pieces and parts of the crank and the block and the oil pan just smash it off the ground. It's so good.
Now, were they still, back then, was it 16-car fields or were they 32-car fields?
So 16 at the majority of the races. There were some races that they actually ran 8-car fields, but 16 at most of the races. Let's listen to Garlits.
Giving it the full shot to ratio, or why against you?
Well, that's it. They're just psyching themselves out, I guess, Mickey. They don't really have to run that hard. They at least got to get down the drag strip, right?
I didn't hear what he said, but yeah, we got Frank Bradley here. So yeah, Frank will stop by every once in a while when we're out in Sonoma.
And Frank's an awesome. He's crazy, but Frank is a great guy, but he's a nut.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He's always good for a couple stories when he comes in the lounge.
And he's another guy. I mean, he's always fired up about something. He went on to, a great driving career, and then he went on to be a great crew chief. He put a few racers. I think he might have put more races in the 300-mile-an-hour club back in the day than maybe anybody else. And as you can see here, he was as good as anybody in the world at this time in history. Now, you notice Garlits ran 599. All these other guys are running 6.0s, 16s. He just ran 626. It shows you how good Big Daddy was in this era.
Yeah, to have a 3/10 separation, in this day and age, you're racing from 1 to 16. I mean, there would be some races that you might have a 10th from number 1 to 16. But yeah, 3/10, man, that's an impressive feat right there.
The other thing I think we need back, Sean, is we need the big X painted through the timing trap. Like, that was one of the things I always loved about these old drag strips, is they always had that big kind of white X painted through the timing trap area.
Yeah, that actually might help some drivers be able to shut it off on time. We got a lot of people running 1,200 feet and tuck the rods out,
So Kelly Brown, so we've moved into the next race here.
And it's crazy too, because going down to the finish line, to be able to shut off at the the right time, like I'm actually shutting off at the mile-an-hour cone. And when I'm in my mind shutting off at the mile-an-hour cone, it's actually shutting it off at 1,000 foot.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's just how fast you're traveling.
Yeah, that's nuts. So again, Kelly Brown, reasonably quick. He goes 6'12", 233. He's, in the conversation. He's still, a solid 10th and change behind Garlitz. At least for low ET, he would have been.
At least to make some of that starting line.
The size of the wing on these cars also cracks me up, because today, obviously, you guys have the massive wings. These are like top dragster style wings on these things. And they're running top dragster elapsed times.
What happened?
Yeah, really low profile. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, going 6.0s, that's what our top dragster class is today. They set it at 6'10", and they go 230 something mile an hour.
I did, and we're going to tune her up and be back.
I like their interviews today. They're just all short and sweet.
Very tight.
We got to thank the sponsors. We got to talk about the run. We got to do all these different things. Their interviews back in the day, they just get to the point and it's over.
Got a bunch of shirtless, wild Ohio fans. Probably been chugging Old Milwaukee beer all day, or Schlitz or something.
Blue Ribbon.
The Pabst was flowing like wine.
We've arranged to give you a driver's perspective of what it's like.
This is awesome. Watch this.
Nationals. This is Steve Bagwell's automobile about to make a run.
The in-car camera is literally a dude sitting in what would have been the back seat or on his knees with a camera on his shoulder. How great is this?
I love what you can get away with in 1978. Yeah. This is a major car right here. Shifting, bang the gears, going down the quarter mile. This is it right here. Open face helmet with the badass shades.
A schmedium shirt. And a wheelie.
Schmedium shirt.
And for those of you Mopar freaks out there, that is the real A990 lightweight Hemi car that Bagwell was racing over the years. Steve Bagwell, one of the great, you're a West Coast guy. Bagwell's one of the great West Coast racers of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, the three-time and defending Funny Car World Champion has joined the chat.
Yeah, sorry about that. Guido's computer wasn't quite up to 2023 standards.
Well, it's good to have you, and this is appropriate. We've moved now into the Nitro Funny Car category with Mr. Tom Prock and the Detroit Tiger coming up here. Big old Poncho Rendon firing the car up. This is one of the coolest funny cars ever.
Sean, how are you?
Good, Ron. How are you doing?
Good, man. How about this stuff? This is awesome.
Some names that you haven't thought about in a while, huh?
No. Yeah, these guys, they didn't miss many meals, did they?
This, to me, like, if you're a funny car racer in 1978, the last thing in the world you want to do is look over and see Don Prudhomme sitting there, right? You just don't want any of that smoke.
Well, depending on what year it was. But, yeah, this is, that's why it's so much fun. Sean knows we go to the March meet and Hot Rod Reunion for these very reasons right here. How cool these cars look. Short hops, dry hops.
Yeah, I was telling Brian we need to start bringing those back. Crew chiefs wouldn't like it, but it'd be fun.
Look at those grandstands. Dang. All right, here we go. Any bets?
Look, we've already watched it.
Why don't we have the dotted lines now, Sean? That would help.
That's what I was explaining to Brian. I said, because he was talking about the X and the traps. And I said, it'd probably help a lot of people be able to shut it off on time and not run it too long.
Yeah, and keep it in the groove. Although Tobler would have told me I was out of the groove if I was dead on those dotted lines.
The Johnny Loper car out of Arizona.
Is that Trip Shoemake driving that?
Yeah, that's Trip. Yep, Travis's dad. You look at that last run, you just saw Prudhomme run 6:07 in the funny car. Only one top fuel car ran quicker than that in the first round. Garlitz was the only guy that ran quicker than 6:07 in top fuel in the first round. He would have beat all those guys, too.
Wow, he got drilled. Holy cow.
And it's funny to me too how, like, you know, the groove, once you're out of the groove, and Shoemake was way inside on that run, like it still hung on to the racetrack only because I guess the amount of power these cars were making. But you try that today, you're in major league trouble.
Yeah, they showed the farmhouse. I don't think, Sean, you never raced there, did you?
No, I haven't. Like I was explaining to Brian, I've been there once, but I never was able to race there.
The shortest shutdown and a farmhouse at the finish line, and hopefully nobody in this goes off the end, but we would definitely see it. And you went right into their front yard if you didn't have chutes open up.
Shorter than Pomona?
Oh, yeah. Gnarly short.
It was so short because there's a road that goes across into the track. Oh, listen to this interview.
Still in?
The snake's still there, Tom.
Well, he can only dodge us one more round, then he's got to race us.
Right? Isn't that awesome? That's classic McEwen, right? Classic.
They were probably in the bar the night before and had the same conversation.
And these cars, to me, like McEwen's Corvette is beautiful. You look at little John Lombardo's car is also gorgeous. Like the paint on these cars is just so good. So Sean, does a 629 doesn't qualify you for top sportsman at Indy, right? You don't qualify a top sportsman if you're running 629 at the U.S. Nationals anymore.
Been running real good last.
There's a couple races that it'd be really tight to get in, depending on the car count. But yeah, there will be some event that might not make it in.
Wow, look at that. McEwen, Lombardo, Shoemake, and Snake.
Bob Glidden, Joe Satmary.
Who is Joe Satmary? I've never heard that name.
Oh, Satmary was a guy. He was based out of Ohio. He was a good racer in his day. He just, like we were talking about before you came on, like guys like Kelly Brown and Rob Bruins were great racers in their day in Top Fuel, but they kind of get lost in the mix of all the other names. But Satmary was a dude who could throw down. I mean, he was 10th in the world in -- Like he was a threat.
Wow. Those guys don't talk about their hands putting them in the wheel well like that, do they?
That is crazy.
What could possibly go wrong? What do you mean? No, I got all 10 of my fingers, or at least half of them. Yeah.
Yeah, put some nubs up on it. Yeah.
Look how clean that starting line is. And I hate to say that because I'm sure at Pomona we're going to have 1,000 people, but look at that.
These cars sound so good.
You don't have every family member up there.
Yeah.
The way that these old Pro Stock cars sit is my favorite. Like, look at the rake on that thing. And both of them, like, the nose is just in the ground. Dyno Don Nicholson. Come on. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Richie
this is back when was Pro Stock.
Richie Zool, East Coast, New York, New Jersey guy.
I didn't even see the last pair. How fast were they running back then?
Oh, you'll see here at
150, I think it just went last pair. 152 maybe.
Yeah, 870s.
156, yeah.
So if you can imagine, in this era and time, guys in the New York, New Jersey, tri-state area, a listener to Zool.
Yeah, I thought so because he just wasn't running fast enough.
How about the next run? What's your plans?
Just try and get it all together and hope that it don't break. There's always a chance. You never can tell.
Hope it don't break.
So those guys in that era would, believe it or not, they would street race those cars. There's really famous photos of guys with full-on Pro Stock cars in the late 70s street racing them in New York, like in New York City. They would unload them off trailers and run for obscene amounts of money and then load them up and haul. So now we move this. Yeah, semifinal round of Funny Car here with Prudhomme and Shoemake.
Now, I would imagine this is still 2 speeds they ran it on. This was before they went direct drive, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Consistent.
607. Yeah. I mean, he covered him by a 10th. And Shoemake made like his best run of the weekend. He still covered him by a 10th.
Yeah, you could tell they probably stepped it up and they got loose early.
Don, how was the run?
Yeah, look good, you know. Everything's all right so far. I don't know exactly how quick it went.
6:07.
Ah, decent. Okay.
Decent. No problems.
Be good for the last round, I think.
Always just calm, cool, and smooth.
Yeah, Mickey Thompson interviewing Don Prudhomme. How cool is that?
It's the greatest. God, that car is so good looking. Mongoose's car is just like, that is just one of the all-timers.
Oh, boy. Snake's got him covered, huh?
There's another gem from Mongoose after this one. They're hunting around.
33 miles an hour. Less than a tenth of a second separating the two cars. So one.
Tom McEwen, how do you feel?
I feel fine. Things shaking awful bad though, but everything is going according to plan. He runs 6:07, 241. As far as everybody concerned, the race is over. As far as I'm concerned, it isn't over.
It's great.
He's like, I got him right where I want him.
Yeah. Only down to 10. Perfect.
Yeah.
The way that these cars would just shake and wobble like they made out of spaghetti at idle is like my favorite thing. They just look so good. They were so low. Ugh.
Shoulders hanging out of the roll cage. Bradley.
Now let me tell you about it. Identical elapsed time. 6.16.
Evans on the mic.
So good to hear. So, yeah, I know. Doesn't that sound awesome?
Yep.
He only ran 216 miles an hour.
You had a tremendous amount of smoke, Don.
Yeah,
all the way down.
Yeah, it burned the piston.
I think you got a piston right off the bat and
Yeah,
in the middle of
it
the line.
had a piston off the line, I think, because it was missing when I went to leave.
He knew it was over with. And Richard Tharp and Kelly Brown. Was it Kelly Brown, Ron, that was a stuntman? Wasn't he the guy that was also... Yeah, he was a stuntman when he wasn't driving it. I mean, how cool is that? The guy was a freaking Hollywood stuntman in a Top Fuel race.
Yeah, my brother worked with him on a movie set. He said he's pretty beat up. His body's beat up. But yeah, pretty neat to talk drag racing with him. Oh, man.
Ooh, that's a good race.
Woo. By 3/100.
Doesn't even look like he's buckled in.
6:11 to a 6:4.
Looks like Sean at the finish line trying to drive the stripe down there.
2:41.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Look at that.
Kelly, what'd you think of that race?
That was the closest race I can ever remember having in drag racing. Tharp is one of the toughest guys there is, and he's always right there. And I looked at him 800, 900 feet down the course, and his wheels were almost dead even with mine, right going into the lights. Heck of a race, guys. We're ready.
That's always fun, going 240 miles an hour, looking over at 1,000 foot.
All right, Jimmy Britton, Nashville, Tennessee.
So there's a couple like pit shots and stuff here. But Sean, so this place was so short, there's a road that runs across the end of the track called Refugee Road that they ended up putting a gate there, and they bought a piece of a guy's front lawn. The guy's name was Herb White. He lived across the end of the racetrack, as Ron was talking about. They bought a piece of his front yard and extended the sand trap up into the guy's house, basically, because the dude ended up in his garden one year, and they made him pay for it. Final round of Pro Stock.
Pay for all the zucchini he ran over.
You're right. Gary Anderson. Want to see the craziest crash at Columbus ever? Gary Anderson. You can find it on YouTube. He ends up in a funny car on the guy's front lawn.
Oh.
How about that?
Wow.
You just assume. You assume Glidden's in the final round, that it's game over, but Richie Zool, baby, hero of the day.
Wow. No sponsors on the car.
Got a full car length, too.
Yeah, driving away from him.
How long that car is compared to his Pinto? It is a Pinto, right?
Yeah, great Bradley interview here.
Clean up. Frank Bradley, have you got 1 second here? Just
got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Very good. What are you doing to your car here?
Well, just kind of cooling it off, changing oil, spark plugs. Motor's been running fine all week. We can't make enough horsepower up, but we're not hurting any parts. And a good part of the battle.
Frank never abandoned the beard. You got to give him credit for that. He rode the beard all the way to the end of his career. I think he still has that thing.
That's one dude you don't want to get on the bad side of.
We were just talking about that before he came on, for sure.
Your ultimate practical joker.
So I think that was Galvin.
What's he waving about?
I think it was they were having trouble getting the thing backed up, and I think you see Pat Galvin sticking his head in the side of the car there once or twice, and then they end up rolling the thing backward.
Man,
these cars
he is
are
pumped up.
Side windows open like that. So neat.
Was he dry hopping it into the stage bowl?
Looked like it.
Yeah, looked like it.
Looked like J.R. Todd out there.
Dude, another 607. Holy smokes.
I think he got out on him too. Like you said, he was having trouble staging that thing. I think Prudhomme just ate him up.
Yeah, big time.
Where did you win the race?
Gee, I really don't know yet. You know, Mick, the car's been running good all day, and I believe McEwen had a little bit of trouble up there on the start line. I tried to wait as long as I could for him and keep my engine down cool. And I don't know. You know, the car's been running good. What can I say?
It's just like, get away from me, Mick. I answered your question. I'm done here. Leave me alone. And Swift Plumbing was, I believe, Bradley's business, right? That was his company out in California, was a plumbing guy.
Man, was that a red light or a drill?
I was going to say.
Yeah.
That was definitely a whole shot there.
Wow.
Yeah, he had half a car length on him. Leaving.
I'd have to say the right lane is definitely the lane of choice today, right?
Yeah, before you came on, Jerry Ruth blew the bottom end of a motor up in a burnout, and that other lane never seemed to recover.
Event. That's 3 out of. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm extremely happy. I'm worn out. We had a lot of work to do between rounds, but as I said the last time, I have to hand the majority of all this to these guys, Jim Brissett and the whole crew that just prepare this car and put it to the line, and it's so competitive and so even every time. I can't believe it. I'm very proud of them.
At the National Trail Raceway here in Columbus, Ohio today, it was Richie Zool, the winner in those pro stockers. But in the funny cars, it was the man to beat, Don Prudhomme, who proved himself once again over the Mongoose McEwen. But the big story of the day was the unsinkable Kelly Brown coming through in top fuel competition. But the real story for us and what has made this Spring National truly memorable has been the amazing work of the mechanics here at this event. Little veneration and little remuneration, but what a magnificent job they have done, and that's what's really stood out.
If you've been to Columbus, like we used to race there, and you're wearing a suit and a tie in that weather condition, oh my gosh, he's probably losing 10 pounds.
You can see him glistening in the heat there. Now what's cool is we kept some of the stuff in. These are like some outtakes kind of stuff, and you can hear every once in a while. This was a good one. Listen to Mickey Thompson talking to Mongoose in the background here.
I think the award of NHRA President will be part as soon as we get through here. Best engineered car of the 1978 Spring Nationals, the Plymouth Arrow.
What would you like to talk about? What would you think would be good at this Mongoose?
I imagine the.
Is that Galvin in there?
About, maybe?
No.
Yep.
They're going to do that in post-interview. I think I'll ask you.
About the Corvette body.
He did.
I'm glad you said that.
Tom, you have 7 people working on your car here. Are you? I'm going to say, Tom.
I thought you got that up.
With 7
That's Bob Pickett. In the yellow shirt, that's Bob Pickett. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, and Pickett drove for Mickey Thompson, so that might have been a little weird. He drove that Marines car back in the day, so Thompson was there doing interviews, and Pickett was there that motor back together again.
And then the snake, Don Prudhomme, striking in the funny cars like he seldom has had to push himself over McEwen.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a few minutes ago, but they've invested a lot of money at National Trail. Like the place has been vastly improved. It's beautiful there. They got a lot of big events coming. They're certainly building up their schedule, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's out of the question that we might pop our head back in there again someday. I'm not 100% sure, but they've certainly brought that place like way back from what it was.
Wrapped up today in those pro stockers.
That would be awesome. I would love to go back to Columbus area.
At the National Trails Raceway in Columbus, Ohio.
Talk to your people, right?
Pro stocker.
Yeah, make this. I'll make it happen. I'll snap my fingers and make it happen. But the dualies are all good. Look at that, the green and white matching dually for Gordy Bonin's team there. It's beautiful.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Winnebago.
Yeah, God only knows what was happening inside that thing over the course of the race.
Oh yeah.
That's one of that cool looking motorhome there. That's a front wheel drive GM motorhome right there. You don't see too many of those. They were on a Cadillac Eldorado chassis.
In the pro stockers and the funny cars.
I think that was on Escape to Witch Mountain movie, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Now I'm showing my age. Sean's like, what movie?
That's the story of today's competition. But the real story for us has been the story.
You guys could run your operation out of one of these trailers, right?
Whose names are unknown. The mechanic.
Look at all the chicks hanging out at Snake's trailer.
Little remuneration.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Gee, what a strange sight that must have been. What an oddity.
Yeah. They're not panning to Shirley's trailer. I wonder why. She's on her way out, probably. She's probably so mad she drove out of there already.
Dude with the lamp shop sideburns giving us the wave off there. But to me, this is a cool look back. I mean, the late 70s to me is like one of those eras of drag racing. Like everybody always talks about the 60s, and then they go and jump to the 80s, kind of with the Amato and Bernstein and all that stuff. But there was some great action in this 75 to 80 time frame, Ron. I mean, you were there for it. I'm not saying that to pick on you. It was ahead of both Sean and I, but I love looking back to it because it's just so many great cars and people.